Sarah Grace, thank you so much for doing this. I know your time is so valuable. Oh my gosh. Overall figure win. Just broad question to start off. How did you do it?
Yeah, that's a good question. I just responded to somebody on social media today that my prep brain didn't really allow me to see it all come together. I doubted myself up until they called my number, to be quite honest. And I think it was more of a mental strategy of not letting myself, be disappointed if it didn't happen. But I just honestly, like last year, I saw the progress that I made with every show, and I knew that I had it in me to be better because I proved it to myself with every show I came in better. I did my most productive off season yet, checking in with my coach every 2 weeks, just really holding myself accountable, giving myself some slack though to still be social and kind of eat, freely, and not being too hard on myself, but still being really focused on the gym. And that mind muscle connection, I felt get deeper with every workout. And I just, you know, when we, it was just a different game for me when prep started, allowing myself to really be structured in my off season. Once we started prep, I was just like so ready for it. And didn't cheat once, did not slip up at all on prep, which I actually didn't slip up last year, but I just feel like my off season before that was not structured. So it kind of set me up for not being the best that I could be.
Do you think that this prep was one of the easiest ones for you, or?
Yes and no. I think it was the easiest because, I guess yes, because it was just, prep is difficult mentally and balancing your life with, the just what prep requires, all the time and the meal prep and the sacrifices of your family and your friends and, people not understanding why you do what you do and what about it is fun and, why are you skipping out on all these things or, just why are you choosing to do what you do? So outside influences can make it a really big mental struggle. And I think I've just learned, I've only been competing for 3 years, but each prep got easier. And this last one, I definitely ignored the naysayers. I think my friends and family have come to understand it a little bit more, so they were more supportive. So outside influence was a little bit better. And also I just wanted it so bad. And I saw that I had made changes and, I was really proud of myself for staying accountable in off season. So it just made me want it so bad that I think the prep itself was easier. Yeah.
North Americans in Pittsburgh, it's such a big show, lots of competitors. What was it like posing in the overall? What was that experience like?
It was a whirlwind. Honestly, I'm glad I have video because otherwise I don't think I would remember what happened. Because, I was in the tall class, so I walked off stage. They took my first place trophy and they put me in line and I walked right back on stage. So I didn't have a moment to think. I just literally went back on stage and posed. We did our quarter turns once and then they moved me to the middle. And when they moved me to the middle, I was just like, and they moved the short girl to the middle as well, next to me. And I was just like, okay. And we did it one more time. And then, we moved to the side and just waited for them to call my number. So it was just, I just hit my poses. I just knew that it was like, okay, I had just won my pro card and I didn't really have time to process what was happening. So I just knew, just hit your poses as best as you can, and honestly, there's moments where I still don't even believe that it happened. I still tell my friends, I'll be at work in the middle of something and I'll just kind of stop and be like, wow, I really did that. It's just, it was a whirlwind. I still watch the video every now and then just to kind of remind myself what actually took place because it was just so wild.
When you look at your transformation pictures,
Mm-hmm.
what has changed? There was something specific that you guys were working on?
Just not really. Overall, I know that this is so cliche, but just overall depth, and just overall muscle maturity, because feel like I was already very symmetrical. So we really just wanted we didn't want to work on any one body part too much. So we really just worked on building everything up, and then bringing it all down, and getting to my best conditioning. That was the goal in prep, was just hitting that best conditioning yet, and I think we achieved that.
What do you think it takes to have good stage presence? What does that take?
Practice. A lot of practice. I still don't necessarily think I have it. I critique myself when I watch video of myself posing on stage. Like my walk out, I think I'm rushing. But honestly, I've never had a posing coach. My coach does, I pose for my coach, and he would, if he saw something he didn't like, he would certainly critique me, and he has, and when I first started. But honestly, since then, I just watch other people's videos and watch other people's posing and kind of see what I like, and then practice. I set up weekly during this prep. Starting at about 10 weeks out, I every Sunday morning put my posing suit on and set up a selfie video and posed in front of that multiple times, multiple videos, and would watch myself, and, just practice and practice and practice. And then, of course, I watch video on stage, and I'm like, well, that's not what I looked like when I was practicing, So I think it's always a matter of progress and practice, and just taking, really, I think, putting it onto stage. I think what I need to work on is not obviously it's just not just hitting your poses, but it's the timing, and slowing down, and not rushing through it. And so that's something that I will be practicing for my pro debut, is slowing down. And obviously on the pro stage, it's a little bit longer of an individual routine, so I have more practice now to do.
That is a really good point. I hear a lot of competitors say they move a little too fast on stage. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
What about, during this prep, was it emotional for you at all? Any emotional times? Did you, I think, you see where I'm getting at with this?
Yeah. Not really. This prep wasn't too emotional.
It was just fun. It seemed like it was fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I really did. I had days where I was, honestly, the only emotion that I remember having is about 4 weeks out, I hit that wall where I was so exhausted it hurt to get up from my desk at work. It was just really exhausting. And so just that fatigue, I remember that. I remember that emotion. So other than that, though, just being really proud of myself and happy. It was mostly good emotions, which I guess is a good thing, except for just kind of being like, okay, you can do this. It's only 4 more weeks. And then thankfully it lasted only a couple of weeks. And the last couple of weeks weren't too bad. I actually got better as closer to the show. So that was nice. I didn't really miss. I was able to maintain saying yes to my family, and my friends a little bit more than I had in past prep. So I think that kept me a little balanced too, and it didn't it allowed my emotions to stay a little bit more, I think, even keeled. Yeah.
Do you remember years ago how this bodybuilding journey started for you?
Yeah. So I started lifting 10 years ago, but it was right after college, and I was kind of in my early 20s, and I'm like, okay, I'm not naturally skinny anymore. I need to do something to maintain this. I was just always a string bean growing up, and danced. So I was just lean, just really skinny. And so I had started lifting. One of my girlfriends, my best friend, was really into fitness, and she got me into it. And I hired a trainer because I had no idea what I was doing. And then I got more comfortable in the weight section and, just started to really enjoy it. But then I went to law school. And in law school, everybody, for stress relievers, would go out and drink. And I did that a couple times with them, and then I realized that wasn't the scene that was going to help me. And I went back into the gym. I had kind of lost my way my first semester. It was very stressful. Started back with just in-home workouts in my dorm room, and dropped some, I guess you would call it the freshman 15, even though it was law school. And so I then finally joined a gym and was going, 5-6 days a week. And I found that it really was my biggest stress reliever. And I didn't know what I was doing for the most part. So I would buy the magazines and I would see the figure girls in the magazines. And I was like, well, that looks kind of fun. I wonder if I could ever do that, like get on stage in a tiny bikini and show off what I've worked on. And it basically, I always wanted to do it. I always said I would, but then, after you get out of law school, you're broke. And so I had to wait a couple years to kind of get back on my feet. And then once I did, that's when I found my coach. And I was like, let's do this. I'm probably going to hate it. Probably not going to want to be on stage again in a tiny bikini. And of course, after my first show, I was like, let's do this again. This was fun. And pretty much 3 years ago, because my first show was in October of 2015. So that's how I got there. Didn't really think that it would come this far, but I'm very excited that it did.
A lot of people now, they're coming up to you and are motivated by you. They tell you that?
Yeah, actually, yes. It's really awesome because I've done that. I've sent messages like that to other figure pros and just, even amateur figure girls that I see do really well, and never thought that I would be the one receiving the messages. But I have gotten some really sweet messages from girls saying that, the fact that they've seen me do it, and like how great I look, and they were watching my progress, and that I motivated them to, get better with their prep or whatever stage that they're in. And so yeah, it's been really motivating. I've never been on the receiving side of that, so it's been really nice. Yeah, they have no idea how motivating it is for me, to keep going and to keep pushing and to stay on track. So it's really awesome.
What do you think it's going to be like posing on a pro stage, competing in a pro stage?
Yeah, probably the same feeling that I had when I did my first show in October 2015. Intimidating, but at the same time, if I can hit that conditioning and improve, I want to pro debut in the beginning of the season, so I know I don't have that much like of an off season to improve, but I don't necessarily think that I need to make many improvements as far, you can always add depth and overall muscle maturity, but I really think if I just can nail that conditioning again, that if I'm just confident in what I bring to the stage, I think that will help with the intimidation factor. And also just practicing opposing routine so that I feel more confident walking out there. But I'm like really excited. That's another part of it that just hasn't really hit me yet. You watch those pros on the figure stage and I watch all the figure shows and follow all the girls when they're that day to see the results and, try to see who's doing a live on IG and all that stuff when we, in order to see the shows. And so to think that I'll be on that stage next year is just like really exciting. So I just need to stay focused.
You said you had a coach, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Who is that? Let's give props to this person.
There we go. Chris Eady is my coach. He's here in Orlando, Florida. And he is a competitive bodybuilder as well. He's not currently competing, but he has recently. He also was an NPC judge for a while, and he promotes 2 shows here in Florida. But he is a fantastic coach. I found him when I first started. I was looking for a show to do. And I found the show, and on the website, he promoted it. And on his website, he also talked about coaching people. And I was like, hey, I need somebody. Can we meet? And we met, and it just kind of clicked. It was, I just got along with him really well. And we've grown to be really good friends over the years. And he's been with me every step of the way. So we work really well together.
What about, someone might be watching this and they're struggling with motivation, eating clean, working out. What would you say to them?
You have to really want it. It's such a tough sport, and I know that everybody says that, but they know it if they're going through it. They know the mental struggles of being tempted by food, sticking to a plan, hitting the gym when you're really not in the mood. You've had a long day at work. Or when you have 2-a-days and you have to wake up really early and then go again after work, you know what I mean? And if the motivation is not there, it's so hard, because I've had days where I just didn't want to do it. You're not hungry. You don't want to eat your last meal, but you have to. Or you're starving. You have to wait 2 more hours to eat. And if you don't want it in the end, if you don't have the drive and the passion for this sport, to really hit your best physique and be the best that you can be on stage, you're not going to find that motivation. And I really think that that's what worked for me. I knew, like I said earlier, I saw the progress that I made with each show last year, and it was like, what can I achieve next? And so that motivation is what put me in the gym every morning and made sure I prepped all my meals even when I was exhausted, and made sure I got enough sleep every night, even though I wanted to maybe watch a TV show. And, just all the little things that were really necessary. Coming home every day from work and taking a nap, because I knew during my lunch break, instead of doing something else that I could have been doing, just like really little aspects of making sure that my body came in where it needed to be. And I think it was just that passion and that drive. And, if you don't have that, then it's okay that the sport may not be for you. There's so many other things that involve weightlifting or, that are competitive that may just be better for you.
Well, Sarah, it's such a difficult thing to conjure, getting figure overall at North Americans. Thank you so much for your time, and really appreciate it. You're a role model in my book, and
thank you.
Good luck for the rest of, I guess, next year when you step on stage again.
Thank you so much.